we created users, we created new users with these modify these options, like creating user with a comment, shell, then changing the directory for the users, UIDs, GIDs. Now GID means changing the group membership. Then we modified the existing users. That means if the user is already existed, and if you want to modify these options like comments, shell, directory, uh, UID, then how we can do with this user mode command. For adding new user, the command is user add, and for modifying it is user mode. So we did modify these comments, shell and directory. A home directory, when you modify, make sure that you add one more extra option, that is M. Otherwise it will not move. A goat, you have done, you have modified the directory but you did not use M option. Then what happened, if you see the passwd file, the configuration file, you will see the modified directory. That means you will see in the configuration file that the directory is changed, but in actually directory is not changed, directory still remains on the same directory where it was, and it is not changed. So what happened when that user try to log in, when they try to log in, it will say there is no home directory, because user try to find the directory in the location where the configuration file mentions, but in reality the directory does not moved because you did not use this M option. So it remains on that place, and when the user logs, it will get error. I will show you what. And then we change the user UID, then we change the user GID, that means we change the user's group ID, that means group membership. Then yesterday I told these three extra options. These three extra options which we use with user mode command to modify the user. First option is hyphen small l. Now small l is means changing the login name. Now login name, that means if the user's login name is something else like a goat, so you can change it to something else. Now user login name you can only change with user mode command, because when you use user add, you're creating the user, that means you're creating the login name, so there is no point of modifying it. So when it is already created, then only we can modify the login name with using this L option. So L is the option, then you will mention the new name, whatever the new name you want to give, and then the old name of that user, that means the old login name for that user. Now the user will log in with this new name which you mentioned, and this is what the login name. Then we use this command yesterday, that is hyphen capital L. Now capital L and then username. This command do what? It locks the user. It locks the user, that means if the user try to log in, it will not allow, it will say the password is not correct. And to unlock the user, we use this U option, capital U. Capital U is for unlocking the user. Now let's see, I will show you this. Passwd file. Let's say uh, okay, this user's home directory. Let me show you first for the home directory. This user's user file home directory is under home. Now I will try to move the home directory. I will try to change the home directory for the user file. Now see what happens if I don't give M option. I will say mode, user mode, user mode hyphen D. I'm not giving M option. Hyphen D, and then I will say new user home directory will be uh, do I have any directory? Let me check. Okay, I have this directory here. So user mode hyphen d. Now under ftp users, is it users? Yes, I want to create the directory under ftp users for user 5, and this is user 5. Right now user 5 home directory is under slash home, but I'm trying to modify it. I'm trying to change the home directory from home to ftp users. Now when I press enter, now this is what I did for this user, and this is user 5. Now I did not give the M option. Now when I check under home, you can see the user home directory is still under home, and when I check ftp users directory, it is not there. So when you don't give M option, the directory does not move. Directory remains on the previous place in the previous directory. But in the configuration file, when I check the configuration file, now in the configuration file it says that the user's home directory is in this place. Now what happened when user log in? When this user logs in, it do try to find the home directory under this, because the configuration file says there your home directory is in this directory, and user try to find the directory in that, and it will not find, because in reality the directory is not there. So when user try to log in, I will try to switch it from here, and what is said, warning, cannot change directory to this. See, it is trying to find it here, and it says no such a file or directory, because the directory is not there. So whenever you try to move it with try to change the home directory, change it with M option. What I will do, I will change it again to home. Now again I'm not giving M option because the directory was not moved. Now in the configuration file it is okay, and now it finds the home directory, because the home directory is still under home, it's here, and it is not under ftp directory. So now when you move the home directory, make sure that you give M option also. Now when you give M option, now what? Now it is moved from home. Now there is no user file, and when you check the ftp directory, it is here, and it is also modified in the configuration file. So when you switch the user or log in the user, now it is also changed in the configuration file. Now when you log in with the user, you will see it is not getting error, because it is finding the directory in the right place. So that was a goat have not given the M option. Now yesterday we have seen those options to change the login name, to log the user, unlock the user. Those all options are also there. This is our user, and I did change the user login name, this user 6 login name. Now I will change again, like I will change the login name for this user 4. For changing the login name, user mode hyphen small l, then you will mention the new name, and then the old name. Now when you check the file, now you can see it is changed, but still you can see the UID is same because it is exactly the same user, and still you can verify that the home directory is still user 4. So this is user 4, but only the login name is changed. Then we can lock the user also. Now locking the user, that means it will not able to log in. So for example, I will try to log in with a goat user. Okay, is it there? Okay, a goat user is there. Is it lock? Last time I think I locked that user. Okay, yes. Now you see it is logging in because last time I locked the user. So now it is not locked, but when I locked it, it will not able to log in. So for locking the user, we will give -l and the username. This will do lock the user, and then when you try to log in, it will say login incorrect, and you are not able to log in because the user is locked. Now when you unlock for using capital U, now you can log in the user. So capital L for small l to change the username, login name, and capital L for locking the user, and capital U to unlock the user. Now when you lock the user, that means what it do actually. See, I will lock the user again. Now the user is locked. If I try to log in it here, it is not logging because I locked the user. Now I'm logged in as a root. I'm logged in as a root here, and I will try to switch user root to a goat. Remember, the user was locked. I have locked this user. Now when I try to switch, I can switch the user. I can log in with the user. Instead, I have locked the user, but still I can switch. Now how is it possible? Because first I am logged in as a root. Now because I'm logging as a root, it is not asking the password. Remember, when you logged in as a root and when you try to switch with normal user, it will not ask the password. But if I am logged in as a normal user and when I try to switch it from user to a good user, then it will ask the password, and then it will say you can't because it is locked. So that means what? When you use L option, it actually locked the password. That means it disables the password, and when it is no password, you can't log in. For example, I am exit from there. Now I will switch with other user. Let's say I switch to user 1. Now from user 1, now I am normal user. I will try to log in as a goat, and now it is asking password, and password is ABC. Password was there, but it is not accepting the password because the user is locked. So when you lock the user, actually it do what? It lock the passwords. You can verify by checking the passwd, the shadow file. Now you see the user is locked. When I go to the shadow file, so these are the users which we created. This one at the time of installation, and this is the password, and this one is locked, and this one is also there with the password, but these ones I have not assigned any password till now. Now you see the user with password. This user is enable password. Now you see the password hash. It is in red color. Now I opened the file in VIM so that we can see the colors. Now red color means it is working. Now the password which we locked is this user. And now you see the color of the password is not red. It is not coming in red because the password is not working. It is actually disabled. And then again you can see this password is red. Now why it is not working here? Because of this exclamatory symbol. If you see this symbol here, that symbol is not before these passwords, which is active. So when you lock the user, so actually it locks the password, it adds this exclamatory symbol here before the password. And that means what? And you can see that on all the users which is not having a password, that means this one still not have a password, we have not assigned any password, you can see this symbol there. Actually it's two symbols, but the first one is important, it says no password, and this one says no hash. You see these all users which is not having a password, and even the system users, they are having one exclamatory symbol here in place of the password. Now see, when I unlock the user, it will remove this one. Now what? I will unlock the user with capital U. Now when you check the shadow file, now you see a goat is now in color, and that experimentary sign is not there. So basically this experimentary sign indicates that password is required, but password is not there, and this means password is not there. So this one says that you need a password for logging, and the password is not there. So when you configure the password, these experimentary symbols are removed and you will get the hash of the password. And if you remember, all these passwords are ABC. This user password is also ABC. This user password is also ABC. This user password is also ABC. But if you see, the hashes are different. Remember I told you that it uses SHA 500, 256, 512 bit, and also it uses some kind of salting, and because of that the same password is not, the hash is not same for the same password. You give same password for every user, but the hash for the same password will be different for every user. So this is how it locks and unlocks. Now the next thing, is to create groups. Now creating groups. Now one, by default every user gets primary group. That means when we create user, it will create a primary group also, and we can also create groups manually. So we can also create group manually. Now either created by system like primary group, or we create a group. Both groups are normal groups. They are not some kind of special groups. So both group works same. That means by default every user gets primary, and we can primary groups, and we can also create groups manually. Both groups primary or we create manually are normal groups. So they are not some kind of special groups. They are normal group. They work like a normal group.
So,
Yes.
as in, I have
दरवाजा बंद. Okay. So first we will create a group. For creating a group, very simple command is group add, and then you will mention the group name. This is your group creation. So for creating a group, simple group command is group add, and then you will mention the group name. Now this group is created. If you want to check, you will check it in the group file, and in the group file you can see at the end we have created this new group, sales. Now this is not a user, this is a group, and this is the GID for the group. And now this group is not a primary group for any user. This group is not a primary or secondary group for any user, but it can be a primary group for multiple users, and it can be also a primary secondary group for a multiple users. So it can become a primary group if we want. Like suppose I want to create 50 users, but those users must have a same primary group. So I can first create the group, and then I can create the user. So when I create those users, then I will create with -g option. So suppose I want to create 50 users with same group, then what I will do, I will create first group, and then whatever the user I will create, I will create with this option, user add G, and then I will mention the GID for the group which I created, and then username. So what happened, all the users which we create, those all users primary group will be same. So this is the option, G option, with user add for new user, and with user mode for existing user to change the primary group membership. So either if the user is already having a primary group, you can change into this new group, or if it is not there, then you can create with the user add command and use this group as a primary group for those users. So either way we can make this user a primary group for different users. Now if we want to make this group a secondary group for different users, that means we want to add user members in this group, either primary or secondary. So first suppose let me do it again, like to add primary members in group. So what we'll do, we will use the same command, user add for new user with the G option, Now I told you that time also you can give gid or you can give the use group name also. So let's say I will give here group name, and then username. Now this is for new users, and for existing users we will do what? User mode, then the same option. Then the same option. This is for existing users. Now this is command we have already seen, user add user mode with -g option. Now if we want to add the secondary member, I will not say add. Now why I'm not saying add, I will tell you. Now for this we will use this same option, but this time you will use capital G. User add for new users and user mode for existing user, but the option will be capital G. This is for adding, this is for changing the secondary group membership. If you are adding the new user, so at that time you can use hyphen capital G to make a group, make the user a secondary member for any group. And if you want to make user which is existing already, then you can use user mode with hyphen capital G. But I told you what, this is to change. Now why I am saying this? Now for example, we have created the group and we have users here. Let's say a goat. If you check ID for a goat, now you see the agot users UID is this 1001, and he's also having its own primary group, that is agot with the 1001 GID, and it is also a member of its own primary group. Now I want to make this user agot a secondary member of this sales group. So what I will do here, I will use user mode because it is already existed with capital G. And remember I said you can use the name or you can use the ID. If you remember, I am going to use the name, group name, and then the username. Now when you check the password, the group file, now you see the secondary member is it showing here. So this is the group. This group is not a primary group for any user, but this is a secondary group for this user. It can be a primary group for any user. For example, we created a user without a primary group, that is user 6. If you say user 6 group is not there, if we check passwd file, or maybe user 6, I have changed the name, I think. Okay, user 6 name I changed. Now its name is Abhidi, but it is not having its own primary group. You can see it is 1001. It's a primary group. Oh, what was the name? Abdi. So this user has its own UID, but the GID it is using from agot. That means agot's primary group is also a primary group for this user. Now I can change it to this, and we know we have the command user mode with small g and the group name and then the username. And now you can see the group is now primary group for the Avdi is sales. So this is small g to change the primary group membership, and the capital G is to change the secondary group membership. So now a goat, we can see now a goat is having its own primary group, that is a goat with 1001 GID, and it is a member of a goat itself, but now it is also a member of this sales group, because now this is a secondary group for the Agot user. And how I did it? I did it with this user mode hyphen capital G option. Now I said this one is this command is to change the membership. I did not use add there. Why? Because it is actually for changing the user's membership. Now remember I said one user can be a member of hundreds of groups. That means it can be a member of hundreds of different groups. So what? All the groups, like suppose it is a member of 100 groups, but the only one group will be the primary, but rest of the groups will be secondary. Now if we say a goat is a member of sales group, forget about the primary group, this is its own primary group, but it's also a member of this group. Now I want this user to be a member of another group also. Let's see the group file. So we have these different groups. Now a goat is a secondary member of this sales group. Now for example I want to change this, and I want to add a goat also a member of this primary group, this group, Ahmed group. That means it is already a member of this group. Now I want a goat to be a member of this group also. Now if I use this command user mode hyphen capital G and then mention the group name and then the username, now what it do, it will not add the user into that group also, it will actually change. That means when you check the group file, now you see now a goat is removed from the sales and then it goes to this group. It is not adding the user, but I said user can be a member of multiple groups at the same time. That means at the same time it should be a member of this group and also it should be member of this group. But when I'm using this hyphen G option with user mode, it is doing what? It is changing the membership, it is not adding it. So if I use again, now if I say it should be a member of sales, then what? It will remove from that Ahmed, and you see now it is removed from here and it is added here into this sales group. So because why? Because the command which we are using, it is not to add the group, add the user into group, it is to change the membership only. So small g or capital G both are for changing the membership, but primary membership you can only change, you cannot remove. But secondary membership you can add and remove both, because it is not important. That means as I add this a goat user member of this sales group, I can remove it from here also, because the secondary group membership is not important. So as I add it here, I can remove it here also. But with this user mode command you can't do this, because user mode is only for modifying, it is not for adding or removing for groups. So if we want to add a user, now I am writing add, to add users in group. Now this time we will use gpasswd command. Gpasswd hyphen a for adding the user into group. Now we are running this command at the in a point of view of the group. So this time you will say the username first. This is the username, or I will say here you will say username, and then you will mention the group name. So gpasswd username and then group name, and this will do what? It will add the user into group. Now right now a good user is member of sales group. Now I'm adding it into this Ahmed group also. So what I will do, I will use gpasswd hyphen a, then username, and then the group name. Now what it is saying here, adding user go to group Ahmed. Now when you check the id command, now you will see the primary group is as it is, and it is still a member of the primary group, but now it is a member of two secondary groups, Ahmed and sales. And when you check the passwd group file, you can see now the same user is member of this group also and this group also. Now as you add the user into group, you can remove it from there also, but only secondary membership. Primary memberships we can't remove, there is no command, only we can change from one group to other group, because it is compulsory to have it. It is not like you can remove the primary membership. We have talked it about the at the beginning also. So if you want to remove a user from a group, then you will give gpasswd hyphen d for removing it, then you will mention the username, and then you will mention the group name. It is saying what? Removing user agot from group Ahmed. To check, now when you check the id command, now you see it is removed this group membership. Now only remains sales as a secondary. You can even check the group file, and now you can see it is only member of the sales group. If you want to remove it, then you can also remove it from there also. Now it is removed from sales also. When you check the id command, now it is member of only the primary group. And if you check the group file, so there is no secondary member here. So this command is to add user, and if you want to remove users from group, remember users in a group as a secondary member. Remember it, secondary member. It is not a primary member. And to remove user from group as a secondary member, so we can run this command gpasswd hyphen d, then username, and then group name. One more thing we can do to add multiple users in a group as secondary member. Now if you want to add multiple users at the same time with one command in a in a group with as a secondary member, then you can use the same gpasswd command with hyphen capital M option. Then you will mention multiple usernames. That means comma username comma username. So whatever, how many users you want to add, you will mention all the names like this by using comma comma comma, and then finally you will mention the group name, and it will add multiple users in a group. So for example, in a sales group, I want to add multiple users. So if you check, there is no user member as a secondary member in this sales group, but I want to add these users. Like I want to add these all users. So what I will do, I will use gpasswd hyphen capital M. Let's say this user comma a goat user comma user 1 comma user 2 comma user 3 comma user 4 Abdi, Ahmed, all I want to add into this sales group. Okay, user 4 does not exist. I think we changed the user login name. Okay, done. Now when you check group file, you can see now these all members are added into this group. Now if you want to remove them all together at once, there is no option. You will have to remove them one by one. So you have to remove them one by one. Adding is possible to add them at once, but removing them, you have to remove them one by one. So this is about groups. So groups are very simple. They are only having a member, no password, no login IDs, because we don't log in as a group. We use groups to assign a single thing to multiple users. So we want to give something to multiple users. So instead of giving one by one, we use group. We want to assign permission on multiple users. Then instead of assigning one by one, we assign on group, so that all will get the permissions. So groups only have what? Memberships. So this is all about management of groups. Yes. Anyone wants to say? Now the next thing is what about password? Password management. Now password management, that means for changing the password, we know what is the command to change the password. So password is the command is passwd. Passwd we use to change the passwords, but the other informations which we have in the password, other information, that means if you remember the file, where is it? It's here. Where is it? Here. This is the shadow file. Now in shadow file, what we have a login name. Now login names we can change with user mode command. Password, for changing the password, we can change by using passwd command. Now what is these other information? These other informations are last password change, minimum password age, maximum password age, expiration period, warning period, password inactive, and account expiration date. Now, if we want to change these default values, then how we will change? We don't go directly the shadow file and modify those values. We have a command for that so that we can easily modify those values. So for changing the password, we have passwd command, but for these other commands, other default values, we will use some command. It's a one command there. So for changing password defaults. Now passwords default, for changing password defaults, we have a command, simple command, ch age. Now ch age means change age. That means changing the aging information of users. So you use this command ch age, and then you will mention the username. Now when you press enter, it will open the it will give you options to modify those values. So when you enter this, it will ask for changing default values. Now default values will be in brackets, this normal brackets, in this brackets. In this brackets. And if you want to, if you want to change, then you will mention new value. So if you want to change, then you will mention the new values like this. Like this. Now I want to change the information about a good. So if you see the past shadow file, so this is username good. We can change by user mode -l command. This is the password hash. Now password hash, that means it's a password, and we can change it by passwd command, and these are the other default values. Now we will change these values by using ch age command. After that you will mention the username. Now when you press enter, it says that changing the aging information for a goat. It says enter the new value or press enter for the default. Okay, so what it is saying, enter the new value or press enter for the default. So minimum password age, now these are the default values which is already under the brackets, and that is 0. So if you want to change it, then you will mention the new value here, otherwise you will press enter to use the default. For example, I want to say 2. Now minimum password age 2, 0 means what? You can change anytime, you can change your password anytime. But if I made it 2, that means 2 days. That means at least I have to keep my password for 2 days. That means if I change the password today, then till 2 days I am not able to change my password. Enter. Now this is maximum password age. Now suppose I'm not changing the password. I just keep my password for the long time, then it will finally ends on these days, after these days, and you can see the default value, it is 9999. So after these numbers of days your password will expire, and then it will ask you to change the password. It is too much. So you can do what, you can reduce it. Let's say I will say 42 days. Now it is saying last password change, last password change in day. That means it is asking for the date, that when you have changed the last password. Now why it is asking this date, why it is asking the date? Now because you see I am changing the maximum password age. Now what if, suppose I'm saying 42 days for the maximum password age. Now suppose it has already passed, 50 days are already passed. That means last time when I changed the password, since now when I'm changing it to 42 days maximum, it has already 50 days passed. That means it is already past the maximum password age. Then what happened? The account will automatically locked. It will not be able to change the password. User is not able to change the password. He has to contact the administrator because the maximum password age is already crossed. So that is why it is asking you to mention the last password change day. That means after the date it will count 42 days for maximum password change, and it is giving you the default value that is already there, and that is to 2nd December. That means when if I use this date, this is the default one, this is the one when I change the password for this user, it was 2nd December. That means it will count the 42 days after this 2nd December. So it is asking you to modify it. You want to modify it, or you want to give a day of today so that it will count 42 days since today, or you can give any other day. So you can mention the last password change, and this value you will see in that value. I will show you that first. So whatever the value you add here, you will see that value here. It will be added here in these numbers. In these numbers it will add. So let's say I will add today's date. Today is 7. So 2020 12/07. So it will count 42 days from now. Now it is saying period of warning, like password expiration warning period. That means it is going to be expired on 42 days, but before 42 days, before 7 days, it is a default one. It is going to give you the warning, like whenever you log in, you will get the warning that you have to change the password, your password is going to expire. So whenever you log in, you will get the warning that your password is going to expire, please change the password. So that is the 7 days. If you want to change, then you can change it, like I want to change it to 5 days. Now this value is saying password inactive. Now password inactive is the value when the password will be inactive. That means The maximum age for your password is 42 days, but if you have not changed within 42 days, then before 42, that means minus 1, it is there minus 1. That means before 42, that means minus 1 from 42, it will be 41. So your password will be inactive before 1, like minus 1. This is the default one. That means after 42 your password will minus, like 42, that means this is maximum minus 141, your password will inactive. This is the default one. Now inactive means your real password will not work. Till then you can do what? When you log in, your real password will work, and then it will ask you to change your password. But when your password is inactive, then your real password will also not work, and it will behave like we use the -L option, capital L, like it is not use the password, it says login incorrect. Then you have to go to administrator to change the password, that means root. You can change this also, but you cannot give -2, you can give plus. This -1 is the default one, but you can't give -2. You can always give more than 42 days. That means you can always go for plus, you cannot go for minus. That means I can go for 1, I can go for 2. That means after 42 days, after 42 days, 1 day more, my password will still work, like 43 days. If I say 42 2 here, that means still after 42 my password will still work after 44 days. So I can do this, but I cannot give -1, or I cannot give -1 or -2. Remember, if I give this, it will get error and will come out from the wizard. So I will give 2. You will try to give -2, but it will not work. Now this value, when you mention, it will come here in this place. By default, after a expiration warning period, there was no space there. It was empty. It is empty for all the users. These two values are empty. But when you mention something, you will see that value there. So I mentioned this 2 here, so it will show now. Then the last value is account expiration day. Now this is date, and this is the date for account expiring, and that is also -1. Now -1, that means it will also expire after 42 days, before 42 days. That means before 42, that means -42 from 1, so 41, and your account will expire now. That means your account will not work, and then you have to reset your account from root. We use this also for a person, like suppose in your office some person comes for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or for 1 month, 2 month. So we can use this value for expiring their account. That means after 1 month they are going and they will not come back, they are just a guest. So we can create their account with this expiry date, so that after their day after they went out, they will not able to use the account, and I don't have to manually disable the account. It will be automatically inactive. It will automatically expire on that particular date. So we can mention the date, or we can mention the we can mention here. Now here it is also again -1, but we can mention the date also. Now it is starting from this 7, and it is adding 42 days. So from 7, 42 days will be 7 to 7 is 31, then 31 to 17 will be 41, 42, 43, 19 January. So I'm going to give 19 January. So 2021 01 19 January. Now this value which I'm adding here, it will come on that last empty place, and done. Now when you check the shadow file, so this is the information of a goat. Let us see like this. Grab a goat from shadow file. So this is what we have done. This is the last password change, and that is what this one, and it is adding this here 18,603 days, and then the minimum password age we can see here is 2. Then the maximum password age we can see here. Then we have added what, warning period 5, that is here. Then what I add, inactive, that I added 2 here, and which we can see here. Then I added this expiration warning. Now it is also added like this. Now you see, after 18,603 it is added 42 days here, 646, I think 43 days added here, because from today I added 43 days, from 7th January to from 7th December to 19th January. It is actually 43 days are there. So it is added here. You can see from last password change to the account expiry date. And that is the value. These two values are always empty for every users by default. But when you want, then you can add those or modify those values. By default, those two values always be -1. For other users, you will see those values are empty. If you see for other user, for example this, you see these last two values are empty. So these two values are always empty unless you modify it. And empty means they are not empty, they are -1. And this is for the password information. So this is how we can change and modify the password information for the users. Now we can add additional information for users also. For example, we added the user Agot. We added the user Taki. But that is only the login name. It is not the full information for those users. These are not the full information. Full information, like for example, I have not added the full name of the user. I have not added the phone numbers, address, email address and all that. I have not added those things. I have not added anything there. We have added only username. Now if you want to add those information, those additional informations, then you can add them here in the passwd file. In the passwd file, you can add those additional information here in this place where we add the additional information. Now here you can add the full name, a phone number, address, all these things you can add here. Now how you can add them here? You can just write them there. There is a specific format for writing them, or you can use what? You can use one command. You can use one command and you can use one tool to add those additional information properly in that place. Remember, it will be added here in this place. But for adding it properly, we can use one command. Now that command is not added by default when you install your system. So when you install this RHEL, you will not see that command by default. But that command we can install if we want to add those informations properly there. The command is not installed by default, just like the last time I told you about the tree command. It is also not installed. The command is finger, and it is saying that command is not there. So command is not there because it is not installed by default. But if you like to manage your users additional informations properly, adding them, then you can use this finger command. Finger command is not installed by default, and it is available in the DVD. If you want to see, it is here in the DVD. In the DVD, in the packages directory, you see all the packages which you need is there. I can search finger here, and you can see the finger command is there. This is the command finger to manage your user information, and you have also option to manage it remotely by using the finger server. So you can see any user information from any machine and you can use it. And if you don't want to use a server, then you can use this normal command to manage your user information. Now this command you have to install, otherwise it will not, it is not there by default, it is not there. So you want, then you can install it from here. Now installing it graphically is difficult. I think it is not installing here. I double click on it. I have a command here to install. Now it is not installing. But it is used to, finger is a utility which allows user to see information about system. That is their system information. Okay, now what I am doing here, uh, I will use command line. uh, I will use command for installing this. Okay, now how is it, how it is working, how we use command line to install, we will see later. We have a proper topic for this installation, but for right now I will give you the command, and you want, then you will also use it, but I will explain it when we do the uh, installation topic. And command line, you see it's very installed very quickly. So I'm giving you this command here in the file, but I will explain it later. So for adding users additional information like full name, mobile number, address, address, we can add in etc passwd file. So we can do it here, we can add it there, or by using finger command we can do it properly. Now but this finger command is not installed by default. So if we need, then we have to install it first. Now for installing finger, this is the command. Now I'm giving you the command. Remember your CD DVD must be connected, and when it is connected then you can run this command. Now how it is working and what is the command I will tell you. I will explain you when we do the installation topic. Now after installing this command, we can use it to see and edit additional information. Of users. Now first, if you want to see the information, then you will run the command finger and username to see the info. So I have already installed it. Now what, I want to see the information for the user, then I will do finger the user, finger a goat, and now you can see the information properly. So we have already only added the login name, we have not added the full name, the home directory is there, and the shell information is there, and it is also showing that when this user was last logged in on which terminal. This user does not have any mail and it has not any plan also. Now if you want to edit the information, if you want to add this name and anything, now remember login name we can change by user mode L option command. We can use this -d with user mode to change the home directory, and also for shell we can use user mode -s option. Now other information you can change with, we can change with this user mode command, with this finger command, the command which comes with this finger command. So for that we will use this chfn command, that means change finger command. Remember, this command also comes with that finger command. So when you install this finger command, you will see, you will get this chfn also. So chfn, and then the username you want to change the information. So when you press enter, now it is asking the, it is saying changing finger information for a goat, and now it is asking the full name for the user. And you can see in the bracket there is nothing in the bracket, that means there is no name. Like you can see here, there is no name there. So what you want to add here, you will add the full name of the user. What is the full name? A goat, uh, I don't remember the full name for a goat, so I am adding a goat. Office, a goat's office is in Bakuli, Kampala. Phone number of office is plus 256, and then 0 this. Home phone number is plus 256, 0 this. Done, your finger information is changed. And then you can see the, you can run the finger command to check the information. And now you can see your information like login name, then your full name, your shell, home directory, then your address, phone number, and home phone number. So it is added these information with that user. Now where these informations added, it is added into the passwd file. So if you check the passwd file, you can see the information here. So if you know the format, then you can add directly here without using the finger command. Otherwise, you can add it properly by using the finger command. So this is to see the information, and chfn, and then the username. This is to modify the info. And remember, it is a finger info. Or we can say additional info. Now this is the information about users. Now we have done lots, almost everything for the users. Now we want to remove the user. That means now we want to delete those users and groups. Now for deleting users and groups, now first, to delete users, for deleting the user, very simple, the command is user del, and then username, user del and username. This will delete what? This will delete the user and its primary group also. So this command will delete the user and its primary group also, but only if group does not have any other member. That means it will remove the group, but if only if the user does not have any other member, either it is a primary member or secondary member, any other member, it will not remove the group, but the user will be deleted. That means if we run the command user del, and I will say user1 I want to remove. Now what it will do, it will remove the user. We can check in the passwd file. Now there is no user1. After a go directly we can see the user2. There is no user1. When you check the group file, now you can see there is no primary group for the user1. So user1 is removed with the primary group. Now it will remove these, but and also it will not remove home directory and mailbox. Home directory, mailbox, and temporary file also. That means when you remove the user with this command user del, then it will do what? It will remove the user with primary group only if the primary group does not contain any other member, and also it will not remove the home directory and mailbox file, and also temporary files if the user contained any temporary files. So when you check this, you remove the user with this command. Now what happened? User is removed, the primary group is also removed, but if you check the home directory, under the home directory, you can see the home directory is still there, and the mailbox file is also not removed, where spool mail, and you can see the mailbox file is still there. We don't know about the temporary file which this user contains. Maybe does not contain because we have not logged in with this user, but it is still there. If it is if you use this command, it is still there and it is not removed. Now if you want to remove the user with all the things, then you will use user del with -r option. Now this r means what? If you remember, this is again recursive, and when you remove the user with this r option, that means recursively, then what it will do, it will remove the user with the group it will remove the user with the group. Now again, if the group does not contain any other member, and it will remove all. That means it will remove this home directory, mailbox files and temporary files, everything. So in this command, it will not remove those files like home directory, mailbox files and temp files, but with this command it will remove all. But group, primary group, it will not remove if that group contain any other member. Either it is a primary member or secondary member. So the group will not be deleted, but it will remove other things. Now let's say I will remove this user 2. So I will use user del hyphen r for user 2. Now when you check the user in the passwd file, so the user 2 is removed. After a good, we can see the user 1 there. Now in the group file, there is no primary group for the user 2. It is removed because it does not contain any member. Then in the home directory, when you check, no home directory for user 2, it is removed, and also no mailbox. No mailbox for user 2. So everything will be removed. So for removing the user, we have these two options. Now for deleting the group, to delete groups. Now if we want to remove the group, we have to make sure that if group is a primary group for any user, primary group for any user or users, that means whether it is one user or many user, you cannot delete this. Any user, we cannot delete group. But if it is a secondary group, for any user, whether it is one user or multiple user, we can delete. We can delete it. It is no problem. So if it is a primary group for any user, we can't delete this, and if it is a secondary member, we don't care, we can delete it. So for deleting the group, we have a command group del and then group name. Simple. Now let's see. We created one group, sales. So if we check the sales group in the group file, so this is the group we created. Now we can see this group has some secondary members. It has some secondary members, and I think maybe it's a primary group for some user. Let me check that one. 502. So I will verify it in the passwd file. So when I check the passwd file, does any user contain? Yes, this user has the primary group sales, Abdi. Now you can see ID Abdi. So this sales group is the primary group for this user, and also it is a secondary group for multiple users, but primary group is important. Now if I try to delete this group, I say group del and then I will mention the group name sales. Now what it is saying, cannot remove the primary group of user Abidi. You can't remove it. and it is not concerned about the secondary membership. It is only concerned about the primary membership, because without primary group nobody, no user can exist. So I will change the primary membership for that user, and then we'll try to delete it again. So we know how we can change. So user mode small g. Now I will make, okay, this users primary group for Abdi. Now when you check ID, now it is changed to this. Now it is no longer sales. Now when I see the group file, still it contains these secondary members, but these are not concerned. Now I will try to remove the group del sales, and it is removed. No problem for secondary membership, because they don't lose anything, they just lose the membership. But if it is the primary group, then the user will not be exist without primary group, so we can't delete that. So this is for deleting the users and group. So we have seen all those things, like creating the user, creating with different options, advanced options, modifying the users, creating group, changing the membership, and then finally adding some additional informations, and then finally we delete users and groups also. So we have done almost all the things to users and groups. Now Faisal was asking that can we change some default options. So there is a configuration file for this which mention the defaults for the users. You can change some of those options from that default file, and that is the file under etc. It is logging. This is the file which contains the defaults of the user information. And when you see this file, and you have this option here, and it is mentioning here some of the default options, and this is what this one is active. Now remember, it's a configuration file, so these hashes are what comments. It is just an information, and in some configurations also it is not, it is hashed means it is commented. That means they are not applying. And this one which is not having a hash, it is applying, and this is saying mail directory, and you can see this is the default path for the mail directory. So whenever we create any user, by default it goes to this directory, the mailbox goes to this directory, and here it is saying what is the requirement for this and what we can do with this. Now if you go down, then you will see the information about your password. That means when the user try to change the password, this is the default for password. Maximum days, minimum length for the password. That means when you try to change the password, it is only accept minimum 5 password, but root can do anything. But when user try to do this, then this is the minimum length for the password you can change. This is the morning period. Then you go down, then this is the UID definition. You remember the normal users UID starts from 1000 to 60,000. It's not a limit, but it is an automatic UID selection. Then this is for the system users from 201 to 999. This is for GIDs, same 1000 to 60,000 for system GIDs. Then you go down, and then you will see, do it create home directory? Yes, that means it will create home directory always. umask. Now this umask we will see when we do the permissions. What is this umask? Group, user groups, yes. That means this enable user del to remove user groups if no members exist. What I said, when you remove the user, it will remove the group also if does not exist any member exist. And if you don't want to remove the groups, then you can say no here. Then you have the encryption, password encryption method. What it is using here, it is using SHA 512 bit. So these are some informations here you can change. You can't change everything, but these are something you can change. So this is the directory, this is the file for the user's default configurations. For users defaults, this is a file. So this is the file. You can open it with VI or VIM or any other tool. But before modifying it, be careful what you are doing. So this is for the user's default. This is the file where you can change some default settings. So this is our users and group topic. Now last thing, because you are working on graphics, so you have also graphical tool. You can go here, press the window key. Press the window key, it will open like this. Go here in the search and type users. You will see this users tool, graphical tool, only if you are logging in as a graphics. And then you can see your users information here. You can do things, you can modify these things. You can use these things to change. You can make this user normal, they are all standard. You can make them administrator. Now how it is working, I will tell you when we go for the permissions, next topic. You can change the login name, you can change the language, you can change the password, then you can make them automatic login. You can see the history here, and you can delete them if you want. Then you can just press minus, it says delete with all files and keep the file. That means this is normal user del and this is user del with -r option. Failed, it is logging somewhere. So you can do with this, you can add from here also, you can add plus, and you can add the user. You want to add it as add a standard user administrator. Now this is related to permissions, so I will tell you what is this. We will do the permission topic. Put the username, full name, username, password, all that, and then you can log in. You can create the user. Now because we are logged in as a graphics, only then we can do that. Otherwise we can do it everything from commands.